Hi, hello everyone. I'm a tutor of Uplatz HTML5 and CSS3 session part 16. To know more about us, please use this website address which I have given in my presentation. So let's see the agenda of our today's session. So today we are going to discuss about shapes for floats, list style, counters, and how a function is executing with CSS and HTML5. What are single element shapes, which is like we have how to draw triangle, pentagon, hexagon, eclipse, so like that, and columns, and what are inline block layout and CSS image spreads. So let's see one by one. So first is shape for floats. So we have some parameter and details for that. So the parameter is like none means a value for none. The float area that is used for wrapping a content around a float will be unaffected. So the area remains unaffected. So this is default and initial value. So basic shape means it's referred to one among whether insert, circle, eclipse or polygon, so like that. Using one of these function and its value, the shape is now defined. So that is all about basic shape. Shape box, so it's referred to one among margin box, border box, padding box or content box. So when only shape box is provided without any basic shape. So this box is shape when it is used along with basic shape, or it acts as a reference box also. So next is image. So when image is provided as value, so the shape is computed based on alpha channel of the particular image specified. So you can give whatever, either shape box, basic shape or image or none. So as well as based on your decision, you can give a parameter to shape your floats whatever you want. So next is shape outside with basic shape. So one can define a shape for float area. So the initial content will be wrapped instead of float box CSS. Image nth type, which is you can see for that image nth type, which is like first parent. I have given shape outside circle should be 80 pixel, which is like 50-50. So float left, so obviously it will divide it into two. The page will be divided into two. So next is, it's like a second image, so that also same, but I have given as float right, so it should be the right hand side. So the with this same, so then only it will divide it into two equal halves. So this is shape outside with basic shape. So this is the HTML for that, and I have p tag. I'm just asking to align that center. So I have a p tag, I have image 1 and image 2. So this is the first image which it will appear on the left side of the page. So this is the second image, it's going to be appear on the right side. It will divide the page into two equal halves, and the content will be appear text aligner center, which we have given above. So both the image are actually a square images. So when the text is placed without shape outside property, it will follow the round. So with shape outside float area is defined as circle, or either content is made to flow around its imaginary circle that is created using shape outside. So basically the imaginary circle that is used to redefine the float area is circle with radius of 80 px drawn from center midpoint of its image reference box. So that is what we have given in the particular HTML. So next is shape margin. So the shape margin CSS property will add margin to shape outside. So we have a CSS for that particular HTML. So outside, in the sense, you need to give the shape margin, which is the additional parameter. So this is the difference between the previous example and this example is I have added shape margin for both the images to be 10 pixels. So it will add a margin. So remaining other things are same in the HTML. So we have two images and paragraph, which is to be text align center. So this 10 px margin will be added around the shape using the shape margin. But this will create bit more space in the imaginary circle, but then it will be all flowing around. So next is counters. So for counters also we have some parameter. So this you need to understand this each and every parameter, then only you can give or you can use wherever you want. So this counter name, first parameter, what is that actually? So the name of the counter that needs to be created or incremented or printed. So it is nothing but like a for loop in JavaScript. It needs to be created first and then you need to increment, then add, and then you need to print. So it can be anything, either customer, you can custom the name or else you can give whatever, that is your the developer's wish. So it's based on your wish, you can give whatever name you want. And next is integer. So this is also optional value, but then we need to provide next to the counter name will represent the initial value, so that when you are incrementing that, you can start from the initial. So that is what I have said, this is optional. So none. So there is the initial, it's nothing but this is the initial value for those properties. So when it is used for the counter increment, so if it is none, means nothing will get affected. So next is counter style. So this is like in which counter value you needs to be displayed. That is the main thing. uh, the one thing you need to note is support all the values supported by the list style property. If none is used, then counter value will not print at all. So next is connector string. This represents the string that must be placed between the value of two different counter levels, which is like 2.1 and 1. So E of the counter in counter set. So next is applying Roman numeral style for that. So the output would be CSS body item. So item before. So you can see these all the items which are elements which I have in my HTML file. So that first in the body I have made counter reset, which is like item counter. So this is the initial. For the next item what I have done, counter increment, and then I'm just making the item counter to on. So after that I'm just specifying the upper Roman style as well as the output to print in Roman numerals, which is like alphabet 1 2 3 to print in Roman numerals. For that I have making the counter in CSS. So here you can see item 1 2 3. For all the three it will print in Roman numerals displayed as I have showed, given like this: 1 2 3 instead of numerical 1 2 3. So this is all, everything is based on the developer creativity. So based on the, it's also depends on the usage. So you can also number each item using CSS counter. So for that, how we can, what we need to do in CSS. So first, like as usual, you need to create a counter. After that you need to increment that, so that I'm just making the item to get increment. So it will increment. After that you need to print the values. So that is what I'm doing. So item before, I'm just counter item counter, I'm just printing the value before the header, and then after I'm just appending. So this is like this is in order to, for better visibility. So these are the three things you need to do in order to use a counters in CSS. First is you need to create, increment, and then you need to print. So and other things are depend upon the uh, developers wish. So I just also I have made a, I have a header and I have a content. So for everything I'm just giving a border, bottom, height, padding, etc. So that if you run this you will be able to find the difference whatever I have done. So at the end I will execute this program and show you. So next is how to implementing multi-level numbering using CSS counter. So which is like ordered list, unordered list. So for unordered list, so that is a example I'm just taking for multi-level numbering. So list style I have made as none, so that I have created a counter. So inside the list I'm just incrementing the counter. So inside the list I'm just printing the numbers of my counters. So these are the three things which I have done. So based on the elements whatever you are using in HTML, so with the help of that class or ID, you need to do this three things. Sorry. So this is how it will print. So this is all about counters in CSS and HTML5. So next would be functions. So functions, you have cal function. What it will do, it will accept the mathematical expression and it will return a numeric value. So it is especially useful when working with different types of units, just like we can subtracting a pixel value or finding the percentage, or to calculate the value of an attribute, or it can performing some of the operators using the parenthesis. So it's based on the order or operation. If necessary, you can use that. So this cals function is also used to calculate the width of the div element. So you can see here. So for the particular div, I'm just using the cals. So inside this div, I'm just calculating difference between the percentage and then pixels. So like this, you can use wherever you want. So next is use of cals function to determine the position of the background image. So how? So for the background image position, I'm just using the cal function. So I'm just calculating the difference between pixel and percentage, and then after that I'm just adding everything. So you can also determine height of the element like this. So cals percentage minus pixel. So you can calculate width, height, background position, whatever you want using the cals function between percentage and pixels in order to find the difference. So next is a attribute function. So it will return the value of the attribute of the particular selected element. So you can see here below is block quote element which contains a character inside a data attribute which a CSS can use inside the before and after pseudo element using that particular function. So block quote data mark. So in the following CSS block, the character is appended before and after. So the text inside the element would be like this. So before and then after, this is the text I have appended. So finally it will, what it will give, it will give the value of the attribute of a particular selected element in HTML5. So next would be var function. So it will allows the CSS variable to get accessed. So like this, you can set a variable. So root primary color I'm just setting. So with the help of the selector, with the var function, I can access the variable. So for color, first of all, I have, with the help of root, I have set. So where and all you want to use that particular color, you can use that var function to access that. So this is the var function. So next is radial gradient function. So this so it will create the image representing a gradient of colors from the center of the gradient. So radial gradient would be red, orange, yellow. So coming out from the middle and then at the center, then orange, and finally yellow at the edges. So that would be the radial gradient function. So next is linear gradient. It will create an image representing a linear gradient of the colors. So that is first is without parameters. So the width parameters would be 0°, red, yellow, and blue. So this creates a gradient glowing from bottom to top with colors starting at red, then yellow at 50%, and then it would be finishing blue. So that is what the parameters inside that linear gradient. So next is custom properties. So the CSS variable allows to create reusable values which can be used throughout the CSS document. So for example, it is common in CSS to reuse a single color throughout the document. So this would mean you can reuse the same color many times throughout the document. So with CSS variables, the color value can be assigned to a variable and referenced in multiple places. So this would be makes changing values easier and more semantic than traditional CSS values. So you can see here variable color root. In the root I have red, blue and gray. So already we have seen we have a var function so that I can reuse that color with the help of my var function. So that is what I have done here. So I'm just reusing that colors with the help of my var function. So next is, this is the variable color. So the variable dimension also same. So in the root I have made width for everything. So width, height and margin I'm just using with the help of a var function. I'm just using that. So next is like for variable dimensions and color, red, blue, green. For color I have used red. So background, in the name of background also I am just using that gray color with the help of a var function. So border 1px solid. For that color also inside after solid I have made var to red, var function I have used. In between also I can use the var function. So the same thing for variable dimensions. So root I have given two things. So width, height and margin I have used the var functions. So for this I have used that. So button hover color to be blue, red and green. So everything I have used. So next is what are valids and invalids. So naming when CSS variable it contains only letter dashes, so just like that properties. But it should starts with double dashes. So here below are the some of the invalid variable names. So it should not be like this 1 to 3 color underscore underscore ash color dash dash bag bg color. So it should not starts with dashes. So single dash or double dash. So these are invalid variable names. So you can see here these are the valid variable names. So next would be CSS variables or case sensitive. So the variable names below are different variables. So so P color. So you can see capital P, small p, capital C like that. So next is empty versus space. So invalid would be double dash color, valid would be like this. So the space is must. So next is concatenations. So do not support concatenation, which is like here logo. I'm just concatenating everything for my background inside the URL. So this is invalid, and this is also the CSS bug. So you cannot concatenate two or more images at the one variable. So it will get confused. So valid concatenation would be like this. You can concat in the logo URL, that is a separate variable. Background would be separate variable. In that you can concat like this proper syntax. This is the proper syntax. So next is you should be careful when using the units. So for width I have just I have not used any unit. Then it is what is 10, so it will get confused. So I'm just using px here, so that would be fine. So this is also false. So valid would be for width 10px. If you are using var function, So there is no need of putting unit, right? Because already you are using something. So there is no need of putting units in using var function. So the same thing for cal function. So this is valid. You can multiply one unit to convert like this. So cal's 1 em into var of width. So like this you can use. So these are valid. So next would be single element shape. So how to draw a trapezoid? So this is the basic trapezoid, how it will look. So now we are going to draw this exact image. So you can made by block element with zero height. A width would be greater than 0 and a border that is transparent except for one side. So border top and with this 50 px, border right, border bottom I have given as 100 px solid black. So that is why it is coming in black color. So left would be I'm just making transparent. So that is the everything I have made for this trapezoid class. I'm just making width, height, border left, right and bottom would be 50 px solid transparent. So you can also change the background color so the orientation can get adjusted. So this is a basic thing. So next is triangle pointing up. So you can also make that pointing down, right, left. So I have just given the example for pointing up. So that would be my class name. For that I'm just making border left, right, bottom. So it will be pointing up. So I've just not made it top. Bottom I have adjusted everything. So solid RGB 246 156 85. So if you try to adjust the pixel so that you can make that pointing down everything. So this is a basic example for triangle pointing up. So next would be circle and ellipse. So to create a circle you need to define element with equal width and height. Then you can set a border radius of that particular element to 50. So the HTML class circle. So CSS, I'm just make the circle class with this 50. Height would be 50. So background RGB, I'm just giving everything. And border radius also, I have made 50. So you need to keep one thing in mind. For circle, in order to make a circle, you need to give a border radius to 50 percentage. So it will give you the circle shape. Sorry. So next would be burst. So it is similar to a star, which is like points extending less distance from the body. So it's a burst shape as a square with a additional slightly rotated, and also it is layered on the top. So you can see here. So the additional square before and after the pseudo elements, that is a main thing. So 8-point burst, what I have done. So the bottom square is the element. It's a additional square is creating before pseudo, and it is rotated 20 degree, and top square would be 135. So for everything I have a program. I will show you at the last. So the beginning it may confuse you. So next is cube. I have drawn 3D cube using skew X and Y. So this is in order to draw through 2D and 3D, you can use skew X and Y methods, such as pseudo elements. So class would be cube. So cube before I'm just making a transform. Skew X is minus 40 degree, display inline block with everything I have given. So position absolute. So after I'm just making a y-axis to minus 50 degree, position absolute, inline block left, everything. So based on this, 3D or 2D cube will become. So for that, I need to keep the faces, right? So transform origin 50-50. So rotate should be at 90 degree. So because it is 2D. So back face should be hidden because in the 2D only two faces should get visible, remaining things should get hidden. So phase 2, I'm just making a transform to 50-50, same 90-degree rotate, and Z 90-degree, Y 90-degree. So cube face before and after position should be absolute, box shadow, back face visibility, everything I have mentioned. So cube face before, top is 100 percentage, transform rotate X is minus 90 degrees. So after left is 100, transform rotate Y is 90 degree. So that is how you need to draw the cube. So I will show you at the end this as well. So next is pyramid. So I've just shown how to create a pyramid using borders and 2D transform methods, cube Y and rotate on pseudo elements. So for this is like based on our convenience, you can give of all the width height for basic class pyramid. So before and after, in that you need to use the 2D transform, so which is like same inline block. Before I have mentioned border color to transform transparent like this. So transform scale y, skew y, rotate, everything I have just used, position is absolute. So this pyramid, after this would be the pseudo element, border color, I'm just giving this be transparent, transform scale y2, skew y 40 degree, rotate is 45 degree. So everything I have given. So next is column. How to use column count. So a multi-column layout will make it easy to create multiple columns of text. So for this div, this entire content, it will be going to divide it into multiple columns. For that, I'm just going multiple columns. So this would be the ID. So for Mozilla, I'm just making to column 2. So this is for Chrome, and this is a basic thing for column count 2. So it will divide it into two half. So if you want like divide it into 4 5, just you can give whatever you want. So next would be inline block layout. So this inline block layout, justified navigation bar. So this horizontally justified navigation menu bars have some number of items that needs to be justified. So the first left item has no left margin within the container, but right also have nothing. But the distance would be equal independent width. So you can see here this would be the three list and nav bar. So CSS, I'm just making with this 100%, line height is 1.4 em. So for this unordered block with text align justify margin bottom, I had made this. So after display inline block with this 100 and this is empty. So for li, I'm just making inline block. So you need to note the nav ul li tags were chosen for their semantic meaning, but other tags may be used for cost. So this after pseudo elements can cause an extra line in ul and then extra empty height of this particular block, pushing the other content down. So this can be solved by negative margin bottom, so that which has a same magnitude as a line height, but it should be negative. So if your pages becomes too narrow, for all the items will break to a new line starting from the right, and it should be justified. So the total height of a menu will calculate it. So the last topic would be CSS image spreads. So what is image spread? It's a single asset located within the image sheet. So for example, so this would be the image that contains one asset that can extracted from it. So this would be extracted from this. So everything, this is the original, but remaining things would be extracted from that image. So this is called the image spread. So each of these stars is spread within the spreadsheet. So this can be improved by reducing a HTTP request browser. So it can make. So icon 1, icon 2, icon 3, these are the classes. So icon image spread, that can be the image spread I have. So you can display that icon 1, icon 2, icon 3. So everything I'm just making that spread from one to another. So by setting the width and height background, so it can be easily extract a spread from the spreadsheet using CSS. For that you need to have spreadsheet with that particular image, so that you can easily do this. So this would be the summary of today's session. We have been discussing about shapes of floats, list style, counters, what is function, columns, inline block, and image spread. So I'm just closing the practice theory session. So I'm just sharing my screen so that we'll be this enter into the practical demo for this particular session. So the first program, so you can see here, so it is like for image 1, image 2, and then send. So for everything I'm just making the shape outside property. So if you run that, you can see how this shape outside is basically working. So it is 1 or 2. So this is, so there no not much difference, but the next program would be like shape outside circle, which means there would be some space between that circle. Everything same. So you can see here some little space will be there between the text and the circle. So that is the shape outside and shape outside circle. So the next is like counter. So usage of counter. So this item 1, 2, 3 will be printed in the Roman numeral style. So this is Roman number 1, 2, 3. So for that you need to initialize, increment, and print. So these are the basic things you need to do with counter. Sorry. So next is also same. I'm just making the counter to make a header everything. So this is like 1, 2, 3. So for header and paragraph, I'm just making the counter automatically. So next is for multiple counters, how you can. So with the ordered and unordered list, so the same thing I have done. Based with the help of the HTML elements, you need to adjust that. So I'm just using unordered list and list. So the same thing. So this is multi-level counters. So so the next would be using border and button for that. So I'm just using the functions. So I'm just using the var function, which is like reusing of the color. So it is happening or not. Let's check. So you can see when I'm hovering, it gets changing. So this green is changing to blue, red is changing to blue, green is changing to blue. That is what I'm just changing everything. Here I'm just reusing with the help of var function. When hovering, I'm just changing to blue here. So next is trapezoid. So it is that I have already explained the program. So this is the trapezoid which we have discussed. So next would be triangle up. So if you just try to change the pixel, you can make a triangle whatever direction pointing. So this is triangle pointing up. You can also make that bottom and left, right. So next is circle. This border radius 50 is important while designing a circle. So these things you can by heart also, but while practicing you will use to do these kind of stuffs. So these are the basics shapes. So for burst 8, I'm just using a rotate 20-degree. So like that stuff. So I'm just using position, absolute and relative. So burst 8 and 8 before I have just used. So 1, 1. So I'm just using the best 8. So next is like cube. So for that cube, I'm just using position before and after. So in order to display that, that also I have already explained. So, but even though so this is like 2D cube. So what we have used, so we are used skew X and Y in before and after, position is absolute, and then display inline block. That is the main thing. And also we have hide on of our faces. So that's why it is giving it two-dimensional. So you can also make that to 3D. So next would be pyramid. So the same thing, we have used skew X and Y with a transform, and then we have rotated that. So you can see here, yeah. So the last, it is like multi columns. So I'm just given 100 pixel. So based on that, it will display. So you can see here. So this is the 100 pixel width. So based on that, it is split and uh, displaying. So this is all about practical and theoretical part of today's session. So if you have any queries, please write to info@uplatz.com. Thank you. See you all on my next session.